TED Talks remind us that marketing isn't about saying more. It's about saying one thing so clearly that it moves people. Attention is the product.
TED is an acronym that stands for Technology, Entertainment, and Design, and TED Talks are conferences dedicated to those three subjects.
One of the constraints that TED gave us is 18 minutes. It's about what do you say in those 18 minutes? And that's what I think we need to bring to enterprise marketing.
This really, really cool brand built a style and a format which stands for 10 minutes, no fluff, thought-provoking. Is there anything better than that? That is like the holy grail for a marketer.
Trust was designed much earlier before the first word was spoken. And that's what I think we need to learn from TED as marketers. You need to earn that trust.
If you can nail the format, then what goes into the content is actually irrelevant.
Great marketing is not about shouting the loudest. The great marketing part is resonating with your buyer.
This is the best thing I've ever seen.
That. Let's talk about that.
Listen to this. Listen to this.
Memorable?
Well, then be less boring.
Boring?
Remarkable.
Remarkable.
I'm Ian Faison, CEO of Cascade Studios. You're listening to Remarkable. This week, we're talking marketing lessons from TED Talks. With the help of our special guest, independent CMO, Varun Kohli. Varun, how are you?
Doing very well, Ian. How about you?
Oh, I'm so excited to chat with you, catch up, talk about TED Talks. So why the heck did you pick TED Talks to talk about today?
I think one of the most important reasons why I picked was that it reminds us, TED Talks remind us that marketing isn't about saying more. It's about saying one thing so clearly that it moves people. Also because with TED Talks, we have learned as CMOs and marketers that attention is the product. So if you have someone's attention, even when you're not selling anything, you will move people. And I think that was something special about which I got moved by and which is why I chose TED Talk.
I love it. TED has long been one of my favorite series. I think it's a great example of redefining what a series can be. I think it's expertly distributed, which is really important, and very clear, very easy to understand, extremely clear brand promise. I love all of that. However, there is one gripe that I have with it, and we'll get into that here in a little bit. But first, you have been a CMO a bunch of times over at this point. You've also had 10 exits of companies which you worked with. If you were walking into the CMO role tomorrow, how would you be thinking about marketing and about content and brand and how these intersect?
There are two parts of it. One is learning the new tricks, I would say. We should always be learning, and that has not changed in the last decade, 2 decades, last 100 years. One thing that is new, thanks to AI and the uncertainty around us, you also have to unlearn, is what I think is important. If we knew that SEO works one particular way, you have to unlearn that. You have to learn how GEO works, generative engine optimization, but anything that used to work in the past might not work in the future. The new generation that we're trying to sell to, or we will sell to, they have very different expectation. They have very different customer experience. I'll give you a ton of examples. My 4-year-old, I actually have two, 11 and 4, daughter and son. The 11 now, when she was 3 or 4, she actually was looking at a physical magazine, and she went on one picture and started doing this, like zoom. And she's like, why is it not zooming? So that's the expectation they have.
So
And
cute.
the other one gets into the car the other day and says, Alexa, lower the windows. I was like, no, there's no Alexa here. It doesn't work like that. So I'm sorry, I'm a techie dad and my kids are surrounded by tech, but their expectations are very different than what we had. So my advice to the new marketing and CMOs out there, new marketing leaders is, try to learn and unlearn at the same time. Do not think that what worked for you in the past will continue to work anymore. It's a way different game now.
Yeah, you know what I've really gone back to a lot recently, and I believe it was Charlie Munger or possibly Jeff Bezos. One of them said this, is that I don't try to predict what's going to change because that's impossible. I try to predict what's going to remain the same for the next 10 years. And I've been just thinking about that a lot. By the way, I completely butchered the quote, but that's the sentiment.
Well said.
And I think I've been thinking about that a lot with marketing, where if you look at the last 10 years, there were so many things that we got obsessed with tactics and called things different names. And not to, tactics are super important, right? Like a new channel pops up, like, what was Clubhouse? Clubhouse was like massively popular for like 10 minutes and then it wasn't anymore. But if you were a really savvy marketer and you did a bunch of really cool, crazy stuff on Clubhouse really quick, like that's where there's value and arbitrage and all that stuff. But I think that the idea that like the core things that are so valuable as it relates to marketing, and one of them we're going to talk about today, which is brevity, is that if you go back to, I don't want to say like first principles thinking, but if you go back to like why it is that you're doing the thing to begin with, and trying to figure out how do you get that value for the best price, and that's great marketing, like you'll be much better off. And there's a million examples of that, but I think we definitely obsess over the fad and the tactic.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think you should not take your focus away from where you're trying to get to. There'll be a ton of different ways to get there. There'll be a lot of tactical ways to get there, but strategy is what you should not forget about. You talked about brevity. I think one of the constraints that TED gave us is 18 minutes. It's about what do you say in those 18 minutes? And that's what I think we need to bring to enterprise marketing and consumer marketing as well. The attention span is going shorter and shorter and shorter. Right? It used to be maybe 17 seconds, then 7 seconds, maybe it is 5 seconds now. And this is the browsing culture, right? The scrolling culture. If it catches your attention in that time, great. If it doesn't catch your attention, you have lost the audience already.
Meredith, what the heck are TED Talks?
So TED is an acronym that stands for Technology, Entertainment, and Design. And TED Talks are conferences dedicated to those three subjects.
On the morning of December 10, 1996, I woke up to discover that I had a brain disorder of my own. A blood vessel exploded in the left half of my brain. And in the course of 4 hours, I watched my brain completely deteriorate in its ability to process all information.
The idea for TED came from this guy named Richard Saul Wurman, which I was like, who the heck is he? He was one who started the conferences.
Not named Ted, unfortunately.
Not named Ted. That's right. TED for short. He started these conferences in 1984, and it was an experimental idea for the time. He described it as intellectual jazz. Wurman is an architect and author of over 90 books, and his idea came from a frustration, and that is that he thought the traditional conference was typically held by, quote, white men in suits, unquote, and quite boring. And so that paired with this fascination that he had with this idea, and he described it as this major convergence among the fields of technology, entertainment, and design. And that people in each field were having these breakthroughs, and in a way, they were sort of in conversation with each other. And so he was like, well, what happens if we bring them all together for a more informal sort of conference? The first TED Talk was included running a demo of a compact disc, aka CD, ebook technology, and 3D graphics from Lucasfilm, among other topics. But the event was, it's crazy. So that was 1984. And that event actually was not like commercially successful. They lost money on it. And it wasn't until about 6 years later, and I feel like we see this a lot with really groundbreaking things that we consider groundbreaking today, is it took time to figure out what made it successful. So it was 6 years later in 1990 that it became a yearly event. And it was originally run by invite only. So you had to be given an invite, which is like, why weren't you making money on it if it was invite only? Like, this wasn't planned out, was my thought. But over time, access to it opened. So now anyone can apply to go. and the range of topics broadened. So they had folks in science, philosophy, religion, all sorts of other topics come on.
I'm going to show you 2 patterns of deception, and then we're going to look at the hot spots and see if we can find them ourselves.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky.
Okay. Studies show that people who are overdetermined in their denial will resort to formal rather than informal language. We also heard distancing language, that woman. We think liars fidget all the time. Well, guess what? They're known to freeze their upper bodies when they're lying.
And early on, I think it was 1990, 1991, it was actually acquired by a media entrepreneur named Chris Anderson under his nonprofit.
Sorry, in what year?
1990.
91.
Oh, 19. Oh, so it was that was 6 years in. Okay. Interesting.
Yep. It was, so Chris Anderson took it over, and that was under his nonprofit called Sapling Foundation. And I think you can kind of tell, like, the way TED Talks start to shift, that it's run by somebody in media, because he starts to sort of design an experience around the whole thing. So he did a couple things that made it super popular and super successful. He was curated basically the whole experience. So from the roster of speakers to the food, the badges, the furniture, and he opened the doors only minutes before the event would start. So there was always a rush to the door, a line around the block. The other thing that he did was he started posting the live events online, and those started getting like millions of views pretty quickly. And then he expanded the whole TED Talks ecosystem to include TED Active, TED Women, TEDx, which are the locally run versions of the conference. So he just it sort of exploded into this whole ecosystem of these conferences. And TED Talks just celebrated its 40th anniversary in 2024. And they introduced a new tagline at the time, which is "Ideas change everything," which I love. And so I'm wondering, Varun, I know I watched TED Talks. I'm wondering if you had a favorite and why it was your favorite.
Oh, wow. It would be very hard. I think probably one of the most difficult questions I'll get in this hour. I love so many of them. And the one thing I've started listening to, not the whole TED Talk, which is, again, could be long, but they also have TED Radio Hour. And they will take an idea and base everything around that idea and pull quotes and excerpts from different TED Talks. So I have a ton of favorite ones that are based on an idea, but one single TED Talk, I think it would be very, very hard. If you push me a lot, I think there was one by someone who got handicapped and climbed a mountain, and I'm forgetting the name, but that was really, really moving. When I first heard it, I came home and showed my wife, my kid, and that was amazing what she had done.
That I love, the fact that you were like, I need to tell other people about that, which is, I feel like, what this show is all about, right? Like,
exactly.
The things that make you want to tell other people about it, get other people on board. So I love that you're like immediately like, you got to hear this, which is so great.
My favorite is not the U.S.
Ian, what about you?
Thanks, Meredith.
Yeah,
I'm glad you asked. I had one prepared. My favorite is this is what happens when you reply to spam email.
2 years ago, I got one of those spam emails. And it managed to get through my spam filter. I'm not quite sure how, but it's turned up in my inbox, and it was from a guy called Solomon Odonka. I know. It went like this. It said, hello, James Veach. I have an interesting business proposal I want to share with you, Solomon. Now, my hand was kind of hovering on the delete button, right? As you are, I was looking at my phone. I thought, I could just delete this. Or I could do what I think we've all always wanted to do. And I said, Solomon, your email intrigues me.
Have you ever watched that one?
No.
No.
Oh my God, you're both in for a treat. You can watch it after this.
Okay.
It is so funny. But basically, this guy gets a spam email and basically just like follows, like pulls the thread. And so he like follows it and like reaches out to the guy and like, and the person's like, you know, it's sort of like, I can't remember, but I think it's like a Nigerian prince kind of email. So it's like, and so it's like, hey, I'm standing at the bank. I'm trying to do the wiring instructions. I need you to do like whatever. And so he's like, he just basically like goes like fully into it.
That is funny.
So good.
It's so so funny.
It's like what happens when you engage with somebody who's like trying to get you to engage, but like push it too far the other way.
So another great one, my honorable mention is, do schools kill creativity? Which is, I think, like one of the most popular, if not the like most popular TED Talk of all time. Has like, whatever, 60 million views or whatever it has.
Picasso once said this. He said that all children are born artists. The problem is to remain an artist as we grow up. I believe this passionately, that we don't grow into creativity, we grow out of it. Or rather, we get educated out of it.
Couple things. So I want to get into TED specifically, the conference, not the person. Number one, things I had no idea about. Or here's what I thought TED was before this conversation, just from like my memory. I thought TED was started around the time of YouTube as just like video, like a intentionally produced video segment at a conference. Didn't ever think about the fact that it was an actual conference. Had never heard of the acronym of what it actually was. I had no idea that TED stood for anything. I just thought it was like cool talks that lasted 10 minutes. I knew, had no idea, like went back to 1984. Couldn't imagine TED before YouTube, right? Like didn't have any, recollection there. TED has been part of, my life for so long, and I've watched, a bunch of them, obviously over the years. Super high quality bar. And it's become like, it's a meme too. It's like, thank you for coming to my TED Talk, right? It's like, that sort of thing. So to me, it's like this really, really cool brand that built a style and a format which stands for 10 minutes, no fluff. You're going to leave that thing being like, wow, I learned something, and this is like thought-provoking. So anyway, I'll pause there. But like, as far as building a media, quote unquote, media brand, I mean, is there anything better than that? Like, that's like that. They can do better, and we'll get into that. But like, that is so impressive to have such a clear, such a clear space in your audience's mind that they know exactly what they're getting. Like, that is like the holy grail for a marketer.
100% agree. I think, like Meredith was saying, the doors used to open just a few minutes before, but people knew exactly what that red dot means. So the trust was designed much, much, much earlier, before the first word was spoken. And that's what I think we need to learn from TED as marketers. You need to earn that trust. If you are waiting for that trust to be given to you when you start speaking, it's already too late. You have to earn that trust when you open your mouth and they know what to expect. How long is the thing? What can they come out of it? What would be the action on the other side? And TED does all of this beautifully without having any CTAs. They don't sell you anything. They don't have any call to action at the end. And still, this becomes best-selling authors, and people invite them as motivational speakers and whatnot without actually asking for a penny in return. But you have promised everything without actually promising anything. And that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, I mean, you compare this to other, what I would say, like brilliant, media properties. The Moth would be a good one. Yes. Or like I always use Jeopardy is like it's a game show, but it's like, exactly what you're getting when you hear Jeopardy. And it doesn't feel, like Jeopardy is a game show, but it's information, right? It's like teaching you stuff. That's why it's like different from Wheel of Fortune, which is sort of like a puzzle, right? Anyways, I digress. And so I think it's just so incredibly hard to build a media brand that cuts through the noise like that is memorable, that you know what you're getting. And I think that this is just like the number one mistake that marketers make, is they just try to do too much. It's like, just be one single thing, one idea, one thought. Like, don't make your newsletter 15 different links. Don't make and I'm not saying that those are wrong. Those maybe have their own place, and you could show me the data of how those work. But the vast majority of us need to simplify, focus, and be exactly, one thing. And I think if you were to look at TED, like why they're so successful, is first and foremost the format. That the format is 10 minutes, brilliant person, highly edited. That is it. That is TED. Like I said, I didn't even know that TED stood for anything. You know what I mean? Not that I'm the smartest guy, but like, I didn't even know that. I wonder if you polled 100 people if they knew that, right? They just think it's interesting stuff that's told in a very short format, very highly polished. Like that's what the brand is. And so knowing that format is so critical to your success that if you can nail the format, then what goes into the content is actually irrelevant. Like, yes, each individual content needs to work on its own, of course. Like, of course it needs to be good. But when I say irrelevant, meaning like it could be any topic, from a guy talking about how he responded to spammers' emails, to what is the meaning of life? Like, are you serious? So there couldn't be more different topics. And so I think if you create the vehicle, and the vehicle is so good, and you were to say, hey, Ian, I'm going to pick you up in this really awesome school bus that's completely decked out with all this cool gear, and I'm going to take you on a 10-minute ride, and we're going to go somewhere new every single week. And each week I'm going to bring one person in the bus with us, and it's going to be someone you have no idea who they are, and they're probably going to be one of the most interesting people you've ever met. You would be like, hell yeah. And that's what TED is doing. And that is like so incredibly brilliant.
I 100% agree. I think you were talking about the format, the predictability of the format. And I say, I kept seeing some brilliant people lose rooms because they talk too long. And I was telling them, it's not your idea that's failing, that's your editing that's failing.
Yep.
So once you have, it's not about what to say. It's also about what not to say. And that is where I think us marketeers lose our audience, because we try to cram too much into a very small space, be it the content headline, be it the above the fold website. We just try to say, oh, let me get more people into the funnel. Let me try to attract the SEO traffic. Anyone who's searching for anything, I want them. But they come here and they see so much that they actually get lost. So you have to be very, very clear. All you have, like I was saying, 10 seconds. You go to the website, you read what they do, and within 10 seconds, they either go below the fold and click on something or just bounce off the website. So it is not about we do this, and then at the end, some people write, I just saw it yesterday, and more. Like, what the hell do you mean by add more? You've already listed 20 things there. So I think it's about what not to say as in addition to what to say, is what I would say.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, Marshall McLuhan said the medium is the message, right? And I think that legacy media did things in a certain way. A book has to be 150 pages because that's what the publishers wanted, right? A movie has to be a certain length because that's what the theaters wanted. A TV show is 30 minutes because you need, it's actually 22 because you need 8 minutes of commercials. So like so many of the things that were crafted in a certain way because for quote reasons, right? Business reasons, not that they were bad reasons, but business reasons.
Correct.
And so then, the world opens up, the internet opens up. Now content can be delivered in any way. And then so what do you have is this thing that was created in 1984 that truly breaks out because of YouTube, right? Like
Correct.
Because of digital streaming, the ability to like watch these things, and they invested in good cameras and they like recorded this stuff and now you can watch them and they live on and continue to rack up views. And it was creating their own form and their own format.
So I was just saying one thing, and you said it very casually and very important point, I would say. We know movies are certain length. Let's not talk about Indian movies and Bollywood movies. They can be 3 hours instead of 1.5 hours. A lot of singing and dancing in there. But the shows are 30 minutes minus 8 minutes of commercial. Why are the enterprise white paper not the same? Why do I have to sit and read 78 pages of white paper? Why can I not download a white paper and say it's going to be 7 pages, for example? A data sheet has to be 1 page. A solution brief has to be 2 pages. A case study has to be 2 pages. Why do we not have those templates in enterprise marketing when we have it all around us? So that would be, I think, very interesting thought that came to mind based on what you said.
Yeah, and guess what now? ChatGPT does it for you. So that's what's so interesting is now you just take the asset and you throw it into the machine and say, give me this, but in 2 minutes. Give me this in 7 minutes. Give me whatever, right? So you can do that, or you can craft your stuff such that the person knows that you're going to put the amount of craft in that is going to give you just the thing that you want in the way that they think it is best presented. And like, that's what TED was doing. It's like by offering sort of creative constraints, like you just get a better end product. And that is them pre-producing great work. But it's like, you don't need to tell the TED Talk people what they want to talk about. The TED Talk people are going to pick what they think is interesting, just like you picked TED Talks to talk about today. This is like our whole show, right? Like we build this show to intersect, Hollywood storytelling and pop culture and great stories with B2B marketing, and let the guests pick what they find most inspiring and interesting. And then we fill the time, hopefully exploring that. And I think, but whereas like a lot of people want to shove inputs into the machine that are not like really ones that need to happen. And then they want to like focus on, not the little things that like really matter. Like how many seconds of airtime are we going to have blank happen? Like not having segments, or not having a time constraint, or not having, not being able to, switch topics every 7 minutes, because like we've seen that, historically humans can't do stuff more than 7 minutes. Like there's just all sorts of different things there that I think are at play. And most importantly, not understanding the reason why the person is there. Like people are like, oh, why is SmartList so popular? Why don't we make a show like SmartList? SmartList is popular because people want to hang out with those three dudes. Good Hang with Amy Poehler is a great show because you want to hang out with Amy Poehler and her friends. Like what is what they're trying to do? And if they're trying to learn something from you, a 78-page white paper is probably not the preferred learning for anyone.
Agree, 100% agree. I think you said very interesting thing about human mind can remember at most 7 things or 7 contexts at one time. And I don't know if you both know this. This is exactly the reason why there are 7 digits in a phone number.
Yeah.
In addition to the 3 area code digits. So in the US, you have 10 digits, 3 are area code, and there are 7 because we used to remember this. And that's how the whole thing was designed. I believe by Bell Canada, who designed the numbers to be no more than 7, because that's what we can remember as humans. So we should definitely derive. Yeah, go ahead.
And broken up with the little dash.
No.
Like even like
things,
even you look at a phone number and you think the parentheses allow that to be like, all right, that means something. That means some place where they are. And then you got the first 3 and then the dash and then the final 4. If it was 7 in a row without the dash, it would be infinitely harder to remember it, right? But you got the little dash, so it's like, oh, you got 212, like, and it's, you're so right. That's like such craft and such brilliance to be able to do that. And I think that the TED Talk people really know that. I do have some complaints though. I have some notes. Number one, and I'm not saying they're a nonprofit, but as a business, I have some complaints. Number one, it started meaning everything. And I'm not sure that it's clear that their topics are the intersection of entertainment or technology entertainment and what's the other third? Design. I'm not sure that that's true anymore.
Yeah, I think it probably was stricter. You're right. They only picked if it was technology, entertainment, or design. Now, if something is like Meredith was saying, right? The new tagline, what did he say it was? Ideas that what?
Is it ideas change everything? I think that's what it was.
Ideas that change you. I think earlier one that I remember was ideas that move you. And I think they were trying to go more with the subhead more than TED. It was, if it is something that moves you, if there is an idea out there, they don't want to let go of that idea, even if it did not clearly fall in one of the 3 buckets. And not that you're asking me, if you would ask me, if I had to carve out a 4th one, I would probably add help. technology, entertainment, design, and health. And there are a lot
Agreed.
of things on the health front
Totally.
that are probably bucketed in one of the three, but I would carve out a special category for it. And to your point, maybe there needs to be a miscellaneous, but if there was miscellaneous, it's no longer TED because you don't know what to expect. And with TED,
That's
you
right.
have to know exactly what to expect. So I think that's the reason why we should leave it at TED.
Yeah, and I'm not even saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying, like, I think that they evolved the brand and it doesn't mean what it used to, and that's either fine or not or whatever, but it's worth noting. The other thing is by creating TEDx's, I think that you can make a really good argument this was a terrible idea because
I would agree.
Like so there's two sides of the coin here. There's number one, which is how do you find brilliant speakers? If you're obeying power laws, we're going to do 100 TEDx's, 20% of them are going to be really good. And maybe one of those is going to be like, oh my gosh, we just unearthed a brilliant person that we caught them very early on in their career, right? So if you're doing that, maybe that's like a really good reason to have TEDx's. But it completely cheapens the brand because if you see someone that is given a TEDx and it's like TEDx, whatever, I live in Walnut Creek, TEDx Walnut Creek, you're like, yeah, okay, well, that's not a real TED Talk and it's not, but is it worth watching? And so now when I see TEDx, I don't want to watch it. So when I see real TED, I kind of don't either. And like that is taking what you were really great at and sort of diluting it. And I don't know if that has served them well, but it might have. I don't know.
I don't know if it has served them, but I'm with you. It pollutes the whole brand. It dilutes the whole brand. And if I was doing it, I wouldn't do it. If it's only for that reason, out of 100 TEDx talks, 20% are good, I get one idea, I'll probably craft a different way of finding a brilliant idea as compared to going the TEDx route. And people tend to forget, right? They would not have remembered that I saw this as TEDx and not as TED. If they saw something, they don't like it, they'll associate it with the bigger brand. Oh, I've seen TED and I don't like it. For that reason, I think once you have created a brand, you should try to stick to it and try to make it exclusive and not try to dilute it just because this became very successful. Let me create an iPhone S and an iPhone SE and an iPhone SE and a half. It doesn't work. You cannot continue to milk exclusivity of a brand. So you need to stop somewhere, and that's what I would do.
Yeah. Counterpoint to my point is TED has 20 million subscribers on YouTube and TEDx has 44 million. So maybe it's okay. But as we look at it from our own marketing lens to say, we've heard this like do more with less and do more with more and do less with less and all these sort of things. But the idea is like, if you're going to have limited resources and all those things of which we do, and you're going to say, hey, I'm going to make 100 videos next year. Is it better to make 1,000 or is it better to make 100 good ones, or is it better to make 3 great ones? And the answer is like, I don't know. But if you have conviction that you can make 77 great ones, then you should make 77 great ones. If you have conviction that you can only make 8 great ones, then maybe you should only make great ones. And if your brand wants to be synonymous, not with quality, which there are many things out there that are like that, then maybe you don't do that. But to me, TED is synonymous with quality. And to their credit, they added X to the name, so you know that it is different, and maybe that's enough. But I just think it's worth thinking about. All these other sections.
Agree.
Yeah, just final thing here, like just distribution being so important. Such a key marketing takeaway from thinking about TED is, like I said earlier, where would they be without YouTube? I mean, the answer might be nowhere, right? Like the answer just might be they just might be making a yearly conference, or maybe that would have just fizzled out or whatever. But clearly they took a very purposeful approach to this, to YouTube. But man, it's just crazy that, I mean, in no finer point, like you can say that there's all sorts of other things that go into this and algorithms and this and that. But at the end of the day, great content finds its way on YouTube. Like it'll find its way. And their stuff consistently found an audience because people liked it and they commented. I mean, some of these have 12,000 comments on these TED Talks. It's really, really good, thought-provoking stuff. And like in the world of adding in more content than ever, AI complexity, all these things, that like a focus on quality is so important. And if you're wondering why your stuff isn't popping, the short answer is probably it's not good enough and or it's not edited well enough. And TED focused on those two things by design, editing it really tight and making it really, really good.
Yeah, and I think one thing I would add in addition to that is always provide value to your audience. If you are providing value, they will share, they will find you. Don't try to create shortcuts and try to gimmick your audience. I always say market onto others the way you would want marketed onto you. So think of the other person on the other side as also human. I mean, what is it that you're providing value? Don't try to gimmick and, let me have them click on it and then only I'll send them the downloadable. No, keep on providing value. They will come find. If you do an excellent job of telling them what their problem is, they'll extrapolate to think you can solve that problem. So do an amazing job identifying the problem, telling it, and like you said, creating, but at the same time editing, because they might have 20,000 problems. You have to find that one problem and then resonate. What I say is great marketing is not about shouting the loudest. The great marketing part is resonating with your buyer. If you can do that, then all day long, they'll come knock on your door. They'll give you their name, they'll give you their email addresses, they'll give you their dollars, but you have to resonate, you have to provide value. And you're making a comment about YouTube. In the new world, I think Instagram is there. With TED, what is also very important, and I don't know how they did it, and they've been doing it for years, there usually is not just impactful visuals that require a YouTube. I've even heard TED on radio. Like when I was telling you earlier, Radio Hour with TED Radio Hour. It's my favorite podcast on Apple. And I'm in my car and I'm driving and I'm listening to it. I don't have any visuals in front of me, but I'm still able to follow him, still able to get those ideas, absorb those ideas. So they've done amazing, which is why I chose this topic for this podcast.
Yeah. I think my final takeaway for TED as it relates to how marketers could think about content better is that they started with single topic thinking of like single person, single topic, very well edited, very thoughtful, always under 18 minutes, but usually under 10. And then when they built out their other franchises, that they could bring some of that same quality and gooiness and TEDness, but to very human centric brands. So like they've done these original series. They do this TED Explains the World with Ian Bremmer. So he is now at the center of it. So you get TED. Oh, I trust TED. They make good stuff. It always has high quality. And it always has, a really high bar. And now you have this person. So there's other ways to sort of use that to build little mini series or other series off of the offshoot that feels really good. And I think that's really, really smart. And you compare that to like TEDx, which TED is the same exact thing that you know and love, but like possibly slightly worse. Whereas like those other series are the same TED you know and love, but this is a little different. That's cool. And I think that's like a really key distinction.
I agree. Yeah. And I think about content, you were earlier asking what can we learn from TED as marketers. And what I was thinking about is if you're writing content and that content is not making your audience either calmer or more confident, you're probably doing the wrong thing. So you need to make sure your content actually is making your audience more calmer or more confident in making those choices. That I think should be helpful for content creators out there.
Edit your work, people. anything that you can do, take your final draft, cut it in half.
Yeah.
When in doubt, cut it out. That's my big lesson.
Absolutely. And I think that's one advice that I would have for marketers as well. Spend more time editing than you've spent in creating, be it video, podcast, white paper, whatever that is, whatever X amount of time you have spent in creating it, spend 2x, 3x, 4x time of that in editing that. Read it yourself. Would you find value in this? Is this sentence? And I got this advice very early on in my career from one of my mentors. And she said, can you say it in a shorter way? And I kept on writing something and rewriting it, unless and until there was no other way to say it in a very shorter way than that, which is why we have 3 words, 5 words, 3 bullets. It is all about brevity. It's all about saying the same thing in the shortest possible format, because end of the day, you are teaching to humans who have very little attention span. When we don't have LLMs on the other end that you need to send a gazillion words their way so that they can train and learn and then respond. So treat your buyers as humans.
You know, another thing that really makes me think of that I think, you see so much in terms of branding that companies use these taglines and these brand taglines that any company could choose, right? It's like the whatever, the digital frontier for CIOs or whatever.
Very vague, yeah.
Yeah, very, very, very vague stuff. Instead of, doing something that's like entirely you or entirely defensible, right? And I was thinking about this the other day because I was working on something. And I thought, what if you thought of it not as words, but as what the word means? And I was like, if you're a brand that your brand is synonymous with speed, it's like, you're not the high quality people, you're not the whatever, like you are fast. They know that if they go with you, it's fast. That instead of like trying to beat speed into everybody's head, because speed means 50 things to 50 different people. What if you use every single different type of, like speed means, like pace means speed in like the UK. They say, a football player has pace, not speed, which is like so weird to me. I'm like, pace means something totally different to me. Anyways, words matter. This just in. And anyways, I think that there's so much that you could do and still have brevity. But get the message. The message is that we are fast. The message is not that we are speed, right? The message is that our brand is there to serve you fast, or whatever your brand is, or quality or security or whatever. But just figure out other ways to say that same thing, but very briefly, rather than just like using words that anyone could use.
And one litmus test that I used to do with my teams, when you're creating these short taglines or headlines or subheads, you should always ask the question, if I remove my logo and slap competitor's logo on it, is it still true? If it is true, you did not choose the right words. So you have to keep on doing it, keep on slapping competitive logos on top of it till the time it doesn't stick. None of the competitive logos should stick. Only your logo, that statement should be true for, and that's when you have arrived. That's the litmus test that I used to do with my team.
Varun, wonderful having you on the show. So good chatting, Ted, with you. Any final thoughts? Anything to plug?
I think one that I said was, don't be the loudest person in the room when you're doing marketing. Be the one that most people resonate with. So come up with an idea. That idea moves you, the idea that motivates you, the idea that makes you calmer, the idea that makes you smarter, the idea that makes you more confident. If you're doing all of the above, you will get the leads, you will get business, you will be able to close more business. But market onto others the way you would want marketed onto you.
Amazing. Thanks so much. We appreciate it. We'll talk soon.
All right. Thank you, man. Thank you, Meredith.